everyone, Nathan here. Great to be back for another midweek workout. I hope you're feeling fit and healthy and ready to go. Now, I'm not sure if anyone else has noticed this or it's just me, but over the past couple of weeks as coronavirus restrictions have started to ease and we've regained some of the much loved freedoms that we hold so dearly, I've noticed a change in me where the chaos that has surrounded us for these past 6 months and all the things we have pushed out because of the coronavirus lockdown have started to creep back into our hearts, into our homes and into our lives. And in some senses, it feels like we keep adding one thing after another. First, there was school. Don't get me wrong, it's great that girls are back at school and they are super excited themselves. But I have to admit that our mornings were so much more relaxed when all you had to do was get them up and to a computer instead of out the door and down to school. Then we've added in the shops. Shops are open again and we all needed our hair cut and had to pick up all of a sudden a few things that we'd managed to do without for 6 months. And I've already given in myself to the allure of Bunnings a couple of times, I have to admit. Maybe it's a bit of an addiction. Then finally this week we've added in the ballet pickups. Ballet pickups are back in the mix. I don't do ballet, rest assured, but I do drive by and pick up the girls on my way home from work. The reality is over the past couple of months because of lockdown, we've spent all this time stripping things back, decluttering our diaries. And all of a sudden we find ourselves, I found myself last weekend feeling busy, a little stressed, and dare I say it, lamenting the loss of lockdown. Far too quickly, it seems that all these things that we have spent these last 6 months pushing out of our lives are creeping back in. And sooner or later, my fear is that we'll end up in the same old patterns, instead of looking, as they say, for the new COVID normal. As I was thinking about this, God took me to one of my favourite passages, a passage found in Matthew 6, where Jesus is up on the mountainside. He is speaking to the crowds about the countercultural patterns found within the kingdom of God. And as part of this conversation about not seeking worldly treasures, not serving earthly masters, not giving in to the worries of this world, Jesus calls us to make this countercultural decision. He shows us this countercultural pattern. In verse 33, he says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." I have to admit, as I read these words again, it struck me that Jesus is calling us as people who know him, who follow him, who live according to the patterns and priorities of his kingdom. Stop adding and adding more and more to our lives and start seeking him first again. To start every day, to start everything we do by seeking God, seeking his kingdom, seeking his righteousness. And that's how we overcome the patterns of busyness and stress and worry, even the love of money that this world so readily promotes. You know, for most of us, this COVID season has allowed us to slow down, to make time and space for family, to renew our passion and our priority for Jesus, and to seek first God in every day and in everything we do. To seek God first means no matter what happens, we refuse to allow the chaos and the busyness of life to cloud our judgment. We choose to make space to spend with God and read his word and connect in prayer so we can know him as a person, so we can understand the priorities of his kingdom. And this is what changes the way we see the world, the way we approach our work, the ways we relate to the people around us. It's what the kingdom of God is about, this inner transformation that releases us from the patterns and the expectations of this world so we can embrace a new way of living, a new way of thinking that promotes righteousness, that seeks justice, that leads to a life of service, that serves God's mission and his purposes in our world and all through our lives. And for most of our lives, we find ourselves adding more and more, adding more people, more possessions, more activities, more meetings in the diary. We end up busy and stressed, and our lives spinning out of control. And so the challenge for us is to use this season and the space we've been given through COVID to reset, to search out a new COVID normal. Instead of getting busy, instead of starting to worry, instead of being driven by money and meetings, we choose to seek God first. We choose to shape our hearts and our lives around the patterns and the priorities of His kingdom and allow God then to do the adding. God has promised that He would add. Remember, it may not be all the things we want, but He has promised that He loves us. He cares for us, and He will give us everything we need. Everything for today, tomorrow, and every day that follows. So we step out of isolation and into this newfound freedom. Really want to encourage us not to start adding straight away, but to start with seeking. To seek God, to seek His kingdom, to seek these righteous patterns of living. And let God worry about the adding. Because He knows He has promised to provide everything we need according to His great riches in Jesus. He has promised to provide for us, for our good and for His glory. And I pray that we would truly trust Him in that. And we would seek Him before adding in all these other things that seem so important. God bless you, CBC, and we'll look forward to seeing you online soon.